Thank you so much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the entire Fairfax EDA India team, I, Dave Malik, would like to extend a warm welcome to each one of you. Thanks for taking out time to join us today. India has, always been the all-round nation as the world's biggest democracy, a vital supporter for the developing world, and a home of huge information technology sector effectively collaborating in the United States. Meanwhile, the United States remain a lucrative market for Indian companies, and the demand for technology solutions in the US continue to enhance the complementary India-US relationship. While we all are aware of recent disruptions by India Tech Inc., new growth initiatives under the legacy of PM Modi, and recent announcements of the Biden administration on India-US partnership in the field of science and technology. And the biggest takeaway from COVID-19, since we all have faced it, has been the learning curve of investing in the future of technology, AI, data analytics, cybersecurity, which is vital to the economic growth and social benefits of both the United States and India in key areas such as healthcare, education, energy, fintech, and retail. Motivated by the access to the world-renowned tech talent and the prestige of 8,700 tech-focused enterprises, including 11 Fortune 500 organizations with players such as Amazon Web Services, MicroStrategy, HCL, Hexaware, Northrop Grumman, NVR, and many more that deliver a full spectrum of high-end services and solutions to the government, industry, and consumer market worldwide with technology and innovation at the forefront. Fairfax County EDA India team is back with its new program, Talking Tech with Fairfax EDA. The panel discussion full of resources, insights from industry experts, learning from the stalwarts, and support from the local and state government dignitaries to assist fast-growing tech companies from India as they look forward to tap the unparalleled growth access to major markets, not just in the USA, but the entire world. Well, for those who may not be aware of Fairfax County, is the prime US location in Northern Virginia on the East Coast, less than 15 miles west of Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. Having said that, with access to three major airports, Washington Dulles International Airport, Baltimore Washington International Airport, and Ronald Reagan Airport, reaching 60% of entire US population in less than 2 hours, Fairfax County is a choice destination for companies from all around the world, be it startups or be it giants in their own respective fields. As the economic engine of Washington DC metro area, Fairfax County is a center of innovation with highly educated and skilled workforce working for some world's leading employers. Tech businesses innovations in Fairfax County have the access to policymakers and the unmatched ability to develop and scale operations via access to key area resources, including prestigious research universities, VC firms, business accelerators, specialty training program, workforce, and stable business environment, giving you an unparalleled opportunity to work with federal and global commercial clients. As they say, Fairfax County has it all. We also now understand that you may have doubts or queries during the session, and we are here to solve them for you. May I please request you to message or share in the comments, and I'll personally pick up the relevant ones in the Q&A session and later connect on personal basis to assist you in the succession plan to the USA. On that note, once again, thank you for joining us today. I would now like to invite Ms. Juhi Naithani, who is the India Leader, Assistant Director of International Business Investment at Fairfax County Economic Development Authority, and today's moderator of the discussion. Juhi, please take it forward.
Thank you so much, Dave. Thank you for the nice introduction and overview of Fairfax County and what a fantastic place it is for business. Good morning to everybody in the US and good evening to those that are joining us from India. And I know that we all want to get started with the discussion, so I'm going to get right to it. I am going to start by inviting our panelists to introduce themselves. Please tell us a little bit about your role in the company that you work for, what it does, and most importantly, please also share what excites you about data analytics and or artificial intelligence. Why don't we get started with Cupid and welcome everyone to Talking Tech with Fairfax EDA.
Thank you very much. My name is Cupid Chan. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Pistol Decision. And when Dave introduced the Fairfax County, one word really popped into my mind is MicroStrategy. Because of course, this is one of the company in Fairfax County, and I am their first SDK QA they hired 20 years ago. I don't want to expose my age, but that is what is happening for me. So for my vision about AI and analytics, I think a few years back, I was in a conference called CHEETA, the Conference of Healthcare IT, organized by University of Maryland, the neighbor of Fairfax. In fact, I'm the professor and also the senior fellows there. It's very similar question. I was asked, what's my passion and like a vision about analytics in the few years? I said, AI plus BI equals CI. AI, you know what is that? Artificial intelligence. BI is business intelligence. That's what MicroStrategy is doing from my first job. And CI, I coined it as cognitive intelligence. That is combining the speed of AI can produce and the intuition, the direction and intuition that the BI platform can give to you as user. That will become the cognitive intelligence. I still believe this will be the direction of true analytics. That's why this year, my goal is to write a book with the title AI plus BI equals CI. So promotion's done. So back to you, Joy.
Thank you, Cupid. That's fantastic. And that's a great title for a book. Can you also tell us a little bit about Pistivo? What do you do?
Yeah, so Pistol Decision is actually a merger of two companies, 4C Decision and Pistol Health. So I established 4C Decision 7 years back with my partner, Calvin Chu. So my name is Cupid Chan, my partner, Calvin Chu. We are the 4C here in this 4C Decision. But another way about 4C Decision is our vision is to help our client to foresee their business decision. And that company is mainly for professional services. However, a few years later, I get a chance to meet with some doctors in Johns Hopkins. So in an AI conference, I was a speaker. The other doctor was also a speaker. We talked about what can we do about AI and healthcare. So as a doctor, they want to do many things. But the unfortunate thing is many systems right now are so clunky and not very effective. Then I said, you know what? I think I know technology, but I don't have a very good business case to work for that. So that's why we come together to form Pistol Health. So, but managing two companies is not very easy. Managing one is not easy. Managing two is very hard. So that's why we combine and merge them together. Last year, 2021, we merged them together to form Pistol Decision. So on one side, we still provide professional services for like a data related, technology related, and BI and AI. And on the other hand, we leverage our experience that we gain from the professional services to build a healthcare product to health provider, patient, and payer, the 3 Ps in healthcare industry. And I will take a pause here because I will share more details of what is that about later.
That sounds great. And the 4 Cs and 3 Ps, you have a way with words. So I'm sure you're a very popular professor at University of Maryland as well. Thank you for your introduction. I'm going to invite Kunal now, Kunal Kisle from Integration Wizard Solutions. Please tell us a little bit about your company and your role.
Thanks, Jay. So I'm the founder and the CEO of Integration Wizard Solutions. We are a Bangalore-based firm, headquartered in Bangalore, but with offices in in the UK, Canada, and very recently in the US as well. I think kind of to put things into perspective, what we essentially do is help our customers make sense of visual information, right? So I mean, the world around us, as human beings, you'd notice that we see more, our experiences are more visual as compared to things that we read or hear or touch. So essentially our platform, AI platform Iris, for the last eight years, what it has been doing is helping our customers onboard visual sources of information. Most common ones are CCTV cameras, drone cameras, even videos that are, kind of taken and uploaded from mobile phones. And then have a mechanism of deciphering what's exactly going on in that particular area. So, if you have a manufacturing premise, our platform would essentially be able to look at, use the CCTV cameras that are already there and, tell you essentially, the number of packets that are, kind of being manufactured, number of people who are working on it, what's the average man hours on different types of activity, what are the kinds of non-compliances that are going on. So essentially, kind of helping our customers extend, kind of their visibility through analytical means. So that's pretty much what we do. Kind of while the application of computer vision in itself is quite varied, our focus has mostly been in the occupational health and safety regard. So where we try and ensure that be it a construction site, be it a manufacturing premise or a warehouse, the accidents are minimized, and we do that by being able to understand the non-compliant behavior that might essentially lead to accidents, people who are not compliant with safety norms, and then reporting it real time so that somebody can act on it, avoid it at the near miss level rather than before it actually transforms into an unfortunate accident. So, that's what we've been doing for the last 8 years. My passion has been vision-based AI, and I think that's the next level of evolution when we're talking of analytics. We've got a good handle on other forms of data as far as analyzing them is concerned. Vision is something that that's going to get to the next level of I would say a set of enhancements there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. And again, like Cupid, I'm sure you'll share more as our discussion goes along. And finally, my friend, Tom Solitario here in Northern Virginia. I know you're very, very passionate about all things digital. So please tell us about yourself, your role at Verizon, as well as your role as a consultant.
Thank you, Juhi, and thank you so much for inviting me. It's a great honor. It's going to be a lot of fun, I think, this discussion we're having this morning. So I'm a consultant at Verizon in this global supply chain operations there. Our business, Verizon, is one of the largest, if not the largest, of the telecom carriers in the U.S., providing telecom services in the wireline environment, both for the enterprise and for the consumer, and in the wireless space. We just launched formally this week our 5G networks that are spread throughout the country, serving millions and millions of Americans, and also have quite an international presence as well. The supply chain, obviously, for a company this size, is a big deal. And my role there is as a futurist in technology that might transform the way our supply chain business operates. This is a team whose world is about not looking at necessarily today's problems that the company has, but problems that we might see 2 to 5 years from now, and the technologies that are emerging that might serve us better, especially in a transformative way, and there indeed are many of those things. And my role is to identify what those are from a market intelligence standpoint, and then bring them in to the labs that we have in Boston to be able to run really quick proof of concept tests so that we can demonstrate whether or not they are valuable for us. It's a very unique position in that it's a little bit unlike traditionals where we are looking to solve a specific problem. Here we are bringing technologies that we could use that might be able to solve problems of the future. What excites me about AI and data analytics, as processing power has grown more and less costly over the years, data has become the gold. We used to say that, he who has the gold makes the rules. Today, it's she who has the data makes the rules. AI is the bridge to convert that data into business value. We think of around here, especially cloud as the enabler, data as the driver, and AI as the differentiator, a tool that provides insight that helps businesses better understand the needs of their customers. Before big data analytics, it took a long time to process large amounts of data. Businesses would painstakingly gather the data, run the analytics to extract whatever useful information that they wanted. Today, because of the processing power we have, because of the developments we have in AI, fast and scalable analytics tools can help companies decide their future without wasting a lot of time and manpower. That's what excites me about AI.
Fantastic. This is going to be a great discussion. But, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge our other participants on Zoom today. I know we have leaders and founders from other companies. And while I may not get to you individually for introductions, I would really appreciate if you tell us a little bit about yourself in the chat box so our panelists know whom they're talking to. And you're all experts in your field as well. We appreciate your attendance. So back to panelists, you guys are very gung-ho about the subject of data analytics and AI. So tell us a little bit why you think big data was and still is a buzzword. Tom, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, and I spoke to this a little bit a minute ago. You know, big data brings us an opportunity to be able to assess the reality of what our environment is about. With that, we can then do analysis that we couldn't do before. And with some more of these tools that provide insight into the analytics, we can be able to do even up to predictive type of work that tells us what the future environment. It tells us a little bit about an opportunity to perform a what-if analysis in the event of a dynamic change in what we were thinking we were doing. So insight and transparency is the power of what big data and the analytics of it is what it brings to us.
Yeah, well said. And let me just alter that question a little bit for our other two panelists. So, why the hype? Why so much hype about big data is what I want to know. I mean, we always had the data, right? So what's changed now from before? Cupid?
I think let me share with you something that I heard from. So data is a new oil. I think you heard about that term too, new oil. But then someone say that, no, it's not new oil. Actually, it is very similar to what Tom said about the gold, right? It's a gold, but either gold or oil is very expensive. And it is true. But what if data cannot be mined? That means data is only a crude oil. It doesn't have very value. So that's why someone said, no, data is not oil. Data is soil. That means you need to put in time and effort to harvest that value inside the data. So that actually echoes back to your question of why is it now? But because analytics and data, they come hand in hand. But then latest, in the recent months, I also heard another term. Data is actually fire, not soil. And the reason for fire, they have two meanings. Number one is for the fire, it's up to the user, us, to use it for good and for bad. You can use fire to cook. You can use fire to burn the whole forest or your house. That's completely different ways, but the same thing. Data, you can use it for good and for bad. But another aspect of why data is fire is it's unlike physical objects. Let's say water bottle, if I sell and give you a water bottle, you can only have that one piece. But data, once I give it to you, you basically have your choice to replicate it infinitely, theoretically. You can do that without letting this data being back to your lender. So these three aspects, oil to soil to fire, really categorize why data and analytics should be treated very differently than the traditional industry, let's say producing a tangible product. So why is it going to be a very hype right now is, of course, you heard about that. Data is oil because we produce data in the past 1 year it's more than over the past 100 years. This is one thing. AI, people are getting research in more deeply for the AI algorithm. But at the same time, we also have the hardware, which can now support to store the data and analyze the data. These three will combine to become the perfect storm. Why big data right now is so hit, and we cannot do that in the previous analytics industry. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. That's way more than 2 cents. And I think you and Tom covered this very well. So Kunal, I'm going to ask you the next question on my list. I mean, obviously there is a lot of value there, whether you call it soil or fire or oil or gold. Where do you see for businesses the trends or the opportunities for big data and analytics and AI solutions? I'm using the term very in a very fickle manner, I know, but I think as experts, you know what I mean. And when I say where are the opportunities, you can take this question as geographically where, or even better, industry-wise, where do you see the applications for this technology?
Sure. So let's kind of take a step back and just try to try to outline what I believe has changed in the last 10 years. And big, as you rightly said, big data has been a buzzword. It's probably going to be a buzzword for the next 10 years or so. What has essentially changed is our ability to process information, so kind of better and faster than before. That definitely led to kind of the overall belief that something meaningful could come out of a vast amount of data. But more than that, for the last 10 years or so, ever since the advent of GPUs, what I believe we have learned is data can help you learn, can help machines learn. And the more data that you have, the better chances of creating an AI model that is able to predict something better. So being able to figure out what happened in the past, amazing. But being able to use what happened in the past to be able to predict what's potentially going to happen in the future, that currently is, I believe, in my opinion, is driving, the entire, I would say, the entire focus towards generating enormous amounts of data and being able to process and create AI models that can predict. I think the most common utility of kind of being able to predict comes from kind of trillions and trillions of dollars worth of assets that's out there in the world. And kind of as much as we might like to think that it's geographically limited, but it's not. Right. So, I mean, these are assets like oil rigs, natural gas compressors. There are, turbines, and a lot of different things. And our ability to, kind of be co-located physically, use our engineering capabilities to go and fix something when when things break. That's going away. I mean, if you look at the number of people who are taking up that profession, that's dwindling, as compared to some other, kind of professions that are becoming more and more, I would say, in vogue today. So, I mean, essentially, I think management of assets, upkeep and maintenance of assets, is one key area worldwide that's driving. That's driving, the ability to, kind of be able to predict failures, the ability to, kind of be able to schedule maintenance better, so that the uptime of these assets is maximized. I mean, you look at wind turbines, you look at solar farms, you look at oil wells. All of them, kind of driving, a crazy, surge for data, and both in terms of production by adding a lot more sensors than that were earlier, and being able to consume and process and be able to predict data, the results out of that. So I mean, that's just my thought in a nutshell.
So applicable in actually any and all industries is what you're saying, more the better, but also the type of solutions provided need to be more relevant and I guess sophisticated. Although I have to say that, we hear the word predictive analytics a lot. Within data analytics, that's become the buzzword today, but I think I personally feel that there's still a lot of value in the descriptive and diagnostic data, because that's kind of where one comes from in order to make those predictions. And my prediction is that the next buzzword is going to be prescriptive analytics. Let's talk about what you can do or suggest what you can do. Tom, any ideas on geographically where the opportunities lie for data analytics?
Yeah, well, I think this is a chance for us to be able to showcase, the power and the value of what happens around here in Northern Virginia. So I'll speak to that a little bit. We are not Silicon Valley, and I don't think we pretend to be. Nor are we like New York City, though we have, to some extent, a little bit of all of those components, which makes for a somewhat more powerful offering for those companies or for those opportunities that people want to showcase. Coincidentally, we are one of the centers now, I believe, globally. I'm speaking now of Northern Virginia and the Washington, D.C. area. Forgive me, I have my gong going off in the back. We are one of the centers globally for the data world. In fact, the internet traffic, and Julie, you may have the stats better than I do. It is a phenomenal number. Over half of the global internet traffic runs through one of our counties here, Loudoun County in particular. There are 16 plus data centers with millions of square footage of space. It's not coincidental that they came to Northern Virginia. Partially it's because where the nation's capital is, certainly, and that has geopolitical implications as well, which in turn provides for opportunity there. Northern Virginia is especially powerful in the service industry sector, of which data analytics and AI are core, if not one of the leading emerging components to that. So software and consulting is where there's a tremendous amount of opportunity. Amazon has placed its headquarters here in Northern Virginia. Again, that's not coincidental, given the power and the value of what the area brings in terms of talent, and then as an opportunity to be able to export, if you will, globally. We have lots going on here as the threats emerge in the cybersecurity space. And of course, being where the nation's capital is, there's an awful lot of federal business, federal contracting business, the government being one of the largest, not, I think, one of the largest customer that exists in the world. So this is the combination of all this, and together with the plethora of higher education centers, is one of the great things that makes Northern Virginia such a great place to be geographically.
I like this guy. He takes on my work for me, and thank you so much for the shout out for Northern Virginia. Absolutely, we're all that and more. And you were spot on the digital infrastructure, to support these technologies that we have here in Northern Virginia. And 2/3 of all of the data center construction in the world actually happened in Northern Virginia. So that's a huge statistics. Thanks for that. I'm going to stay with you a moment, Tom, and ask you specifically when it comes to Verizon and their supply chain and logistics department, where you're a consultant. How do you see the confluence of data analytics and AI being used for them?
So, I can't speak for Verizon, so to say, given the size of the company and my role there. So I'll answer that question more generally. Sure. How AI is serving the supply chain world in generally, especially in the electronics and the telecom space. Consider it starts with understanding what are some of the big challenges, and there are many. If you pick up the paper, it's practically on the front page every day, and it has been like that, I think, for the last 2 years at least, if not longer. So, and some of this is driven by COVID, of course, but I think some of it is despite COVID, if you will. So I think some of the big challenges that companies face today in the supply chain arena starts with transportation. And there are two components to that. One is the speed of which consumers and customers are expecting products to be delivered. Now, on the consumer side, it's gone to, and it's partially driven by Amazon, partially then gone to not just an overnight delivery, but within hours. There are expectations And Amazon promises and does deliver. I myself anecdotally experience delivery within hours. So those expectations by the customer to be able to receive whatever it is that they're ordering in that kind of speed, and oftentimes at no cost, is very challenging for companies to be able to achieve. So that's a big deal that folks are having to deal with. The alternatives to that include the ability to automate delivery. All right, well, automation comes with data processing, of course, and artificial intelligence. And what kind of automation? Well, it's automation in terms of, and these are to some extent very hyped technologies, the employment of unmanned vehicles. And that's being tested in many, many arenas. We hear it all the time. And it's not just a terrestrial, it's seaborne, it's airborne, it's across the board. We have, in fact, in Southern Virginia, already seen pilots from companies like Amazon and Walmart to be able to use, just like we see in the movies, those drones that are able to deliver to the consumer the packages that they have ordered. So so the government has invested tremendously from a regulatory standpoint, the ability to be able to employ technology in a safe manner to be able to serve some of these transportation challenges. Another area, of course, and this is probably the single greatest challenge for all companies in all industries these days, is staffing. The nature of AI and data analytics is not something you just kind of pick up on the side of the street. And you can probably speak to this as a professor. You either know it or you don't know it. In the old days, it used to be along the lines of accounting and finance. You either had the skills to be able to do this or you didn't. And training and education for these kinds of technologies, it's not inconsequential. And so finding the staffing to be able to do this is very, very challenging. It is, in Northern Virginia, the single biggest challenge that all of our companies face. So how do we deal with that? Okay, well, one of the things we do, of course, is offshoring. And we see an awful lot of work from customers and providers that come from places like India to serve those needs. All right, another area where that comes in is in terms of applying robotics. If you don't have the staff, and we see this in a lot of our warehouse types of operations, right, you move to a robotic type of process. Robots have a component involved with them that are both mechanical and that require data analytics, if you will, or AI, machine learning, if you will, computer vision, etc. These are all tools that come under the umbrella of AI. And without them, the robot wouldn't be able to do half of the things that they were asking them to do before. There used to be a huge issue with having our staff in warehouses move around the factory to be able to pick the types of things that we wanted them to do. Now, with robotics and AI and data analytics, we're able to bring those things to the warehouse operators so that they can indeed pick and package the items properly. So there's a range of things that we can do that demand the employment of AI and data analytics to be able to serve those areas.
Absolutely, and well said. Cupid, what about you? Can you give us some examples specifically or use cases of application of data and AI in health, since that is really what Pistevo is doing?
I'm more than happy to share with you. So I think in the past, maybe 5-6 years, when we are talking about AI, we are talking about the traditional AI, which needs all the data come together in one central gigantic repository so that your algorithm can run and then you produce the model. I think this is good. So far, so good, because we actually get the predictive model based on those kind of centralized data. However, when I share with you Pistevo decision, one side of that is to produce the product. And the product that we are trying to produce is actually reverse the traditional AI, what this traditional AI is doing. That means instead of relying all the data coming together, we rely on decentralized data platform. And then in fact, there is a term in AI, it's a federated learning. So instead of combining all the data together, you push the algorithm out, you push the model out, you train the model in the edge node, in the, let's say in the mobile phone, so that the delta of that training will bring back so that you consolidate all that to become an even better model. Okay, so this is what we are trying to achieve in a technology perspective. then how is it going to apply to AI and in healthcare especially? Think about this. Or like I'm not sure whether you, but I went to see doctor like every year to do the annual checkup. And then last year, I've been diagnosed with hyperthyroidism. Doesn't mean that I'm so keep excited and hyper because of that, but my thyroid index is very high. And that's really keep me awake and more energetic than normal people. And that's why I need to take this medication. But you know what? When my primary healthcare physician told me that I have that problem, then I need to go to the specialist, I need to go to the lab, I need to go to the sonogram to do all that kind of testing. Each and every time I go to the new office, guess what? I need to fill the form almost exactly the same, maybe 90%. You may have this kind of experience as well. And then I go to the next one, do the same thing. Why is that? The problem here is the whole healthcare record is being whole and secure by individual doctor. Me, as the patient and the data owner, I don't even have the whole of my record. That is the problem. So the whole idea we are trying to build right now is to decentralize the whole EHR. What I mean is, I, as a patient, as my healthcare data owner, I should have everything on my own. And then if I need it, if I want it, I can share it just like I share a post in my Facebook. I can let you to see that, my Dr. John or Dr. Mary, I can let you to see that. If I don't want, I can block everything else, everyone else. So how is it going to relate to AI? Federated learning, as I explained it before, is the algorithm is going to push out, or the model is going to push out. What if each and every one of us has our own data repository of our healthcare data? And if when the researcher needs it, then they will come to me, and then we can share this data by federated learning. The result of the model would be much more powerful because we can then have millions and millions of data, complete data, not fragmented data, as I explained, the complete set of data of this human being and then being trained. So now, one Sunday morning, when I think about federated learning and healthcare, how can we really combine it together? What if I called it, again, federated healthcare? I think this concept is federated healthcare. And then one Sunday morning, I woke up and then I came up with this idea. I Googled it and I registered the domain name federatedhealthcare.com successfully. So even though right now, if you go there, there is nothing, but just redirected to our website. But I'm planning to use this concept to really revolutionize the whole idea of what used to be healthcare means before. So that's my 2 cents again for the healthcare industry.
That's great. I mean, anything you can do so that I don't have to fill out all those forms, I welcome it as a patient. So thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Kunal, I'm going to ask you now for a very specific example of what I saw on your website, the crosshairs of AI, computer vision, IoT, and enterprise mobility. Can you give us an example of that in the real world?
Sure. So, kind of, as I was trying to outline earlier, a lot of our customers, essentially, I mean, most of our the business that we do currently come from 2 different segments. It's ensuring health and safety of the employees on a manufacturing premise, and the second one is retail. I mean, if we, whether or not we agree, but we are, the conventional retail or the brick and mortar retail business is kind of is in a kind of constant struggle with the online retailers like Amazons and Flipkarts and others. And kind of the key difference there is the Amazons are able to know a lot more about you because of the way we behave on their website, right? So the clicks, the time that you spend there. That's not the same for a person who's visiting a retail outlet, for instance. We've been trying to change that. right? So a person, kind of visiting a website versus a person who's actually visiting a retail store. There's a whole lot of additional information that you can get from the person who's visiting a retail store. The set of emotions, where the person stops by, what kind of problems that they are facing. And that's what we've been trying to change. And kind of if you look at it, some of our kind of probably the largest deployment that we have are around kind of automating with with this aspect of AI that helps you understand your customers better, decipher more information from the customer, and be able to kind of understand them better, as compared to probably giving enough arsenal to the brick and mortar retail as compared to organizations like Amazon and Flipkart and others. So
Sure.
I mean, if you'd see some of the retail outlets in India, I would say a significant portion of petroleum retail outlets in India are currently running our software that helps helps people, our customers, identify the journey of a customer. If they're happy, they're not happy. What are the key pain points? There are outlets where the queue is too long. There are outlets where you need, so all those kind of things you're able to decipher, make sense out of it, and then act decisively to be able to make the customer experience better.
Yeah, and again, very valuable to any retail outfit, I'd say. It doesn't matter what you're selling. I'm going to take a pause here and invite our other members on Zoom. If you have questions for our panelists, please either raise your hand, put it in the chat box, or let us know so we can call upon you. So please get your questions ready now. And what I'll ask, Kunal, I'm going to ask you, because you're a rapidly growing and expanding company, Integration Wizards. How do you decide the destination for your next expansion?
It's essentially a combination of things. I kind of prioritize opportunities that might lie in that particular region as the most important part, followed by the cost of setting up, the availability of talent in that particular area. And kind of the way for us, we are we typically work on the visual aspects of of AI, and for us, I think there is a one-to-one correlation between the availability of visual data versus the demand that's out there. So we try and look for the most surveilled states that are out there. So I mean, say the density of CCTV cameras in UK is among the highest in the world. That's where our organization in UK started. Kind of we got a lot more data, got a lot more opportunities of tapping into it. We obviously kind of look at the availability of talent and kind of the cost of setting up an operation there. But for us, finding opportunity is fairly kind of straightforward.
Right, the biggest driver. And Tom, I know that as a consultant, you deal with a number of companies that, among other things, are looking to expand, and I'm sure they have their criteria. Any insights you can share there? What businesses consider when they're expanding to a new market?
Yeah, sure. So the nature of a business decision to expand is driven by many things, and there is no magic formula. Of course, it starts with what does your customer want, and what is it like for you to be able to take what it is, either product or service that you're selling in this market, to be able to take it to another, to an adjacent market. The key component people will suggest when it comes to business is to stay as close to what it is that you're doing or where it is that you're doing as you were before. The farther the adjacency is, and we describe them in 1-step or 0-step or 2-step adjacencies, the farther you step away from that, the more risk there is, and the more likely it is that you might be challenged to be able to be successful. So think about oftentimes what it is that you do now and what is it that you could do or where you could do it in that environment. I think fundamentally, those are the kinds of things. When it comes to technology and tools, there's such a plethora of things that we can be doing now that it's really not, I don't think you could touch anything and there's opportunity there to be both successful and unsuccessful. I don't know if I highlight just a single thing. I would suggest from a business standpoint to think about it in terms of what are you doing now that you could do next, and whether or not you need to build it, or whether you already have it, or whether you need to acquire it.
Absolutely, well said. So what I'm getting from both of you is that, of course, it's not one single thing. It's not go where your customers are. It's more go where the opportunity is. And opportunity is defined by a number of things, not just the demand side, like Kunal mentioned, but also the availability of talent, the cost of doing business, the environment or the community that exists for your business to thrive. And with that, I'm going to go to Cupid, because you are a company. Pistevo Decision is a company in Fairfax County. We're very proud to have you here. And you are very well aware of the business community that exists here. Do you think there is any role in support for a business to succeed of an EDO like us, an economic development organization like Fairfax County EDA?
Yeah, sure. I think definitely we need the community support. For example, you guys really helped me to post a job that we are hiring people, for example, Salesforce engineer. In case you're in United States, again, another commercial time. If you're applying for a job, please reach out to me, private message or LinkedIn. I'm really hiring right now. But what really the community can have to help us is to build the knowledge sharing community. So I do not think even Michael Jordan, right? The legend of the basketball, he cannot win by himself. So what that means is like the teamwork. You need to have different team players in your business, in your ecosystem. The reason why we need a community is you cannot win by yourself. It's very hard. But if we have a community, every people is working together to collaborate and then share the lessons learned or the success story, then it may stimulate your thought, or they can help you to avoid some roadblocks that they have already encountered a few years back that will shortcut you to be more successful. I think that's very important, to not working by yourself in a vacuum, but really reach out and then join the community. Especially, for example, Fairfax is a very good place, as Tom has already explained why. So reach out and use the resources that is provided by this community. Then I am sure you can grow much bigger and faster than by working by yourself.
Absolutely, and at Fairfax EDA, at least, we try to achieve some of that with the services that we provide, and I'm sure Dave is going to cover them as well. But I agree with you completely, and the community is not just the supply and demand that we were saying, the customer and the provider. It is also your supporting industries, affiliated suppliers. Here comes your supply chain, Tom, and then also the multipliers, right? They make such an important part of the community as well, the chambers of commerce and places where you can have events and an opportunity to showcase what you're doing to people who have or share the same interest. One more call out for our Zoom audience. Any questions from our Zoom audience for the panelists? All right, so keep that thought in mind as we go along, and I think I'm going to start to wrap it up now in the interest of time. And fascinating as the discussion is, we need to be mindful of the time, and we're coming up on it, and I know Dave needs to give his closing remarks as well. But one final thought from each of you, a takeaway that is related to your industry about big data or analytics and AI, and the importance of this technology and solutions based on this technology to the world today. It's open-ended, so it's entirely up to you. Kunal, shall we start with you?
I did lose you for a moment there, Joey. Could you please repeat that?
Sure. I'm asking for final thoughts from our expert panelists on both the industry, the opportunity in the industry, as well as the importance of it in to the world today, or to the larger audience. I see there's a question in the chat box, but I'll let you go first, Kunal, and then we'll go to the question.
Sure. I think more than solving some of the problems in the industry that have actually been there for a long time. It is I believe AI for the next decade is going to create opportunities that we are not even thinking of right now. It is going to be a huge driver of demand, as far as key talent, and opportunities and in the technology sector is concerned. So I believe they're going to be a huge thing in this decade and next.
And probably more important for people who get to the opportunity first, right? So first movers will definitely have an advantage. I'm looking at the question in the chat box, and I'm kind of going to throw that at you, Cupid, because when you're dealing with health and health information specifically, that's data that is subject to a whole lot of compliances, whom it can be shared with, whom not, and the permissions. And we all know that the US especially is a very heavily regulated society. There are double the forms in the United States than there are anywhere else. So what are your thoughts on the question in the chat box, which I'm going to quote, what kind of compliances are required for software products dealing in customer data management like yours?
Yeah, so I think HIPAA is definitely one of the very famous one, and GDPR, you know about that, like 2 years back, everyone is trying to meet the compliance. But I want to leak a little secret sauce of what we're doing. We don't need to worry about that. And the reason is, as I explained it to you, we are not the one hosting that data. We are not the one hosting that healthcare data. The patient themselves are the one hosting that. We come in as the facilitator. And I know like we are trying to wrap up, so I want to also give in my 2 cents about like another final 2 cents about like what will be the federated healthcare ultimately can achieve. So we talk about AI, we talk about data, all right? So, but I think data and AI and data will fail. These 2 technologies will fail if you only focus on these 2 technologies. Any successful solution comes with a package or bundle of cohesive technology packing together to solve a solution, to provide a solution for a problem. AI and data will fail if you cannot really bundle together with the other technology to solve a problem with your solution. So let me bring up my final 2 cents. I believe AI and data will still be here, but in our solution, we want to solve the healthcare solution. So we will also introduce another thing, cloud and blockchain. So how is it going to do that? You know that right now, it's almost impossible to really host everything by a data center, because cloud, think about the electric company. We used it to a generator in each and everyone's home. Right now, you like turn on the switch, power will come, because it's as a service. Cloud is as a service, it's infrastructure as a service so that you can leverage. So you need to combine this cloud technology along with blockchain. AI and blockchain, I call it as an yin-yang of the technology. AI ever-changing. Whenever you have more data coming in, the model will change because it learns as more data coming in. That's the yin. Now, the yang is blockchain. Once you enter any data into the blockchain, it's being locked down. You can never change it. That's the blockchain. That's why I call this is a yin-yang technology of the data analytics. So when we combine all that together, that means, for example, the federated learning, if we also introduce in our solution, we will introduce the blockchain so that whenever you provide your own data for the researcher to mine your data, to improve their algorithm, their model, you get paid. Not Facebook get paid, not Instagram get paid, not LinkedIn get paid, I'm sorry, but the data creator, data producer, you yourself will get paid by cryptocurrency, by blockchain. So then if you realize it's ABCD, AI, blockchain, cloud, and data. And if you also notice my LinkedIn profile, I am actually calling myself AI entertainer, blockchain adapter, cloud practitioner, and data storyteller. That is the future.
So well said, Cupid. And if my math is right, you've given us not 2 cents, but 8 cents today. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it very much.
Sure.
Tom, would you like to close us out? And then I would like to hand over to Dave to give closing remarks.
What would a Zoom event be if you didn't have somebody start talking with their microphone muted?
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing all of this with us today. You know, I think the thing I want to leave everybody with is the concept, and I'm sure we're living it painfully or otherwise, of the dynamic geopolitical and marketing environment that we have today. By that, I mean that things are changing and they're moving fast. I work as a futurist, and we talk about, in my world, often the 5-year plan, but we really ought to be thinking in many cases of the 5-month plan, because it's moving that fast. To be able to deal in this dynamic environment, we have to be able to model what it is that it looks like. And to some extent, that gives us the transparency that we want, that our leadership wants, that our customers want, to be able to forecast what it is that we need to do to be ready, to be able to invest in, to be able to serve in those markets. And predictive analytics is the way to go to do that. It's creating digital twins, models of the actual environment, models of the products that we're building. It's creating control towers and all of it. And these are enabled by the predictive tools that come from AI. So the power and the value of these things are what are core to be able to serve this dynamic environment that we live in.
Absolutely. And with that, I want to officially thank all 3 of our expert panelists for their insights shared today. I learned a lot. I'm sure our audience did too. I really appreciate you giving your time. And I'm going to hand off to Dave. You have the challenge of doing your closing in 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ruhi. So, on the closing note, I would just like to add, before the mention of our services, one thing about the Fairfax County. Well, aside from being more affordable than Silicon Valley, Fairfax County's quality of life is what really sets it apart from other locations. The mix of comfort, proximity to big cities, and the lower costs make it a winner. Coming to our services, well, one thing to mention again, we have been the first EDO in entire India to come to India from one of the US EDOs which came to India at the earliest, and has been assisting Indian INCs in the transition to US. Our services includes not only, let's say, providing detailed information on industry sectors, market conditions, business community. It also includes tour Fairfax County, potential site locations, helping you develop opportunities in the corporate and executive visibility. We have, ongoing monthly programs on that, like Entrepreneurship 101. We can help you explore state incentives for the investment and other benefits. Apart from that, assist you in the introductions for the county zoning, permitting officials and state regulators. Along this, we have initiated, we recently launched one talent initiative through which we have been helping all the companies, starting from startups to MNCs, conglomerates, big giants, with the hiring the tech talent. Talent is always has been the great and the most prime thing of the county. And apart from that, just one line in the closing note, whether it's evaluating the market or help you in the physical setup, we help you in the complete transition to the US market. With that, I would like to say thank you so much to each one of the panelists and all the attendees. Thank you once again.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your time, and we'll all be in touch.